What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Talking to the Dog Benfica podcast. Coming live to you every Tuesday night, 8:30 when we can, 8:30 at least. Tonight's episode number 177. We got lots to talk about. We will look back at the Benfica Champions League match against Galatasaray. We'll look back at the derby. We'll look ahead to Tondela, which comes up this Friday. With me tonight, as always, Steve Santos.
What's going on, Alfredo? It's a bit of a somber mood today, but we'll push through it.
Yeah, and Cristiano Oliveira.
Hello, guys. How's everyone doing today? See, Steve, I say hello, guys. I don't direct it just at Alfredo like some other guys on this podcast. Just saying.
You know how I feel about you, Chris. You know how I feel about you.
About as much love as I have for Rui Vitoria. Go ahead.
Ih, já começas, pá. Porra, pá. Espera aí, deixa andar um bocadinho, pá. Estás em cima do outro, pá. I guess let's start with the Galatasaray game. I guess we start in order. And Benfica played Galatasaray this past Wednesday. Seems like an eternity ago. I'll give you the lineup real quick. Júlio César, Silvio, Luizão, Jardel, and Eliseu across the back. Almeida and Samaris, Guedes and Gaetan on the wings, Jonas and Jimenez. Jimenez seems to be getting all the Europe games. Well, now he got the Sporting game also. But Steve, quite a tricky game for Benfica. You know, we knew ahead of time going into Turkey wasn't going to be an easy fixture for Benfica, especially because of the atmosphere over there. But you know, a game that perhaps we know if we win the game, at least that that we're in a very good chance to make it through the second round. But you know, with the fact that we gave up a loss, it's not the end of the world for sure.
No, there's still there's games where we can get our points back. We got 6 points already, which is a good start. Regarding the match, we weren't very good, but I wasn't too impressed with Galatasaray either. I thought we could easily have tied that game as well. There were moments where we looked poor, which kind of foreshadowed what happened on the weekend, and really showed a little bit of what happened versus Vianins too, because Vianins wasn't the best performance either. But all in all, we had the opportunities, I think anyway, to have tied that game, and we didn't. So it is what it is. Now we just got to focus on the match versus them on Tuesday and get us up to 9 points, which will put us in a good spot to getting through to the next round.
The big difference in that game, for me was, I mean, you look at the 2 goal scorers for that team, and not the 2 goal scorers, but one of the goal scorers, and then the other guy that was controlling stuff in the middle. Basically came down to their big time players showed up where ours did not show up, in particular in the second half. That was the difference in that game.
Yeah, I think, well, the beauty by Gaetan, I can't forget to mention that, and that's the type of player that can do things like that, I would say, but early. But, Steve, is it that obvious that we struggle when pressed high, that we can't really get out of pressure?
Yeah, I don't think it's very obvious at this point. We just do not have there's routines that are missing for us to be able to play the ball out from the back. I mean, there's lots of things going wrong. There's poor movement off the ball. Whenever Samaris or even Andre Almeida gets the ball, it seems like the whole team hides from them, and he's got no option but to either play a risky ball or take on his man 1v1, and it leads you to the type of giveaways that we've been doing lately and being punished for them. So.
Bro, it basically comes down to this. For those of you listening at home or in your cars, wherever the hell it may be, it comes down to this. The 2 fullbacks, they push up. Samaris drops back, gets the ball at the from one of the defenders, and then everybody else stands around, looks at one another, and then Samaris has to pull a ball out of his ass, and just like he did on Saturday, plenty of balls that he tried to go long and kick them out of bounds because no one has any idea what to do. And I know you guys want to keep positive, but it's just, to me, it's facts. I can't hide away from facts. There is no game plan. There is, like Steve said, no type of idea what to do. There's no routine with these guys. There's no type of, all right, yo, you run here, open space. Because to me, in a lot of people, soccer is all about the movement off the ball. Movement off the ball opens up passing lanes for everyone on the field, and I just don't see that from this team. I just don't see it.
I agree with you 100%, Chris, and I'm sure Steve does too.
Absolutely.
And the other thing, and I wanted to, it leaves me mind-boggling. It leaves me a little bit confused. Is yes, like Alfred, like you said, it seems that Jimenez was going to get the the Europe games, and now he got to start against Sporting. But the one thing that leaves me confused is if as a guy sitting at home watching this from my couch, if I'm thinking about starting Jimenez over Mitroglou, because I anticipate that I'm going to need to pressure the opposition. I'm going to, have the ball come on a counter and let this guy get, because he's a lot quicker and he moves around a little bit better than Mitroglou does. But, dude, there's absolutely no pressure. We're not applying any pressure. It's like we're sitting back. Yeah. So what the hell is Jimenez on the field for? And I know some guys want to tweet at me, talk about the bicycle kick he did with Mexico 33 years ago, which to me is totally irrelevant because I care about what he does at Benfica. I haven't been impressed one bit so far by Jimenez. He has shown me nothing as to why he should be on the field over Mitroglou, which is another guy that, he's not spectacular, but to me right now, I got to go with the guy that gives me the better possibilities of putting the ball in the back of the net, and that's Mitroglou. So that being said, I'm just confused as to why this guy is playing. Benfica aren't applying pressure. There is no routine. There is absolutely no game plan in this. You look at Benfica today, and Benfica last year at this time, everybody was like a moving pieces. Everybody put them, like Legos. They all go in hand, and you put them all together and you create something beautiful. There's nothing like that this year.
Yeah, but Chris, do you think that perhaps that disconnect and perhaps that big gap between the midfield and the attacking transition, you think that has to do that we don't really have a true number 8, and that's Almeida plays side by side with Samaris?
Son, Alfred, it's a very good question, and I could answer this multiple ways, but I'll leave it like this. The obvious answer to that is absolutely yes. That is the problem. Okay, that's the obvious answer. But here's the part that, again, leaves me a little bit confused looking back at this. Bro, we won the Campeonato last year with the same exact players in the midfield. It worked last year somehow.
Yeah, that's really, for me, that's the key. It's not only that, okay, Almeida's not a fantastic footballer. He's adequate, he's mediocre, whatever adjective you want to use to describe the guy. But there is no system in place that will allow him to show the little qualities that he has. I mean, there's just so many things going wrong right now, both in defensive transition and building play. There's just so many things going wrong, and I know it's unfair to try to judge it upon what we saw last year with a team that has been with JJ for 6 years and whatnot, but you figure we're 12 games in, I believe, with Rui Vitoria now. I think it's something like that in total.
Well, if you count preseason, yeah.
Somewhere around that, and there's very little signs of improvement. There's very little signs that there is a game, that he has a game plan, that he knows how to get players to understand what this game plan is, how to stimulate the players to see different things that are happening in the match and react to them. There's nothing of the sort with Rui Vitoria. I really do not want to be negative towards him. As a gentleman, he seems fantastic. He seems like the English say, he seems a lovely bloke. But as a coach, tactically, he's been found wanting since day one, and there's been a lot. There hasn't been anything showing me any signs of improvement. I think the games where we've won and where we've looked better, it's been down to individual performances and down to basically a Gaetan moment of magic, maybe a Jonas moment of magic. It hasn't been any constructive play, neither in defense or in attack, that we could really pin on to Rui Vitoria and say, you know what, that's good work. That's work that he's been putting in on the training pitch. We can't say that, and I will give him all the time until the end of the season. I believe that we as a structure, we need to do that. We need to be patient, but at this moment, he's not showing me any signs that will bring me any confidence that he's going to turn this around.
Steve, you don't want to say it, but I'll say it. The one good win that we've gotten so far,
Atletico?
Right? That's it. Every other win's been against shit competition. And Atletico, like you mentioned.
But the Atletico one we could have lost just as easily.
That's what I was going to mention. That's what I was going to say. If you let me finish. As you mentioned, it came down to individual performances, and that was Julio Cesar, who's played out of his mind that game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Chris, do you think that this team is still trying to find an identity?
I think this team is looking for a leader. It's looking for a guy to guide them in the right direction. It's not a guy who's going to pat them on the back and say, "Oh, baby, everything's going to be okay." It's not what it's about. It's about giving these guys a game plan and tell them to go out, and you have to do exactly what it is that a coach tells you to do, okay? And if you do every single player on the field, if the coach gives you an idea, gives you un papel, como se diz in Portugal, right? Gives you a role to play, and you do the role to the best of your ability, right? Guys will go, but right now I don't think they know what the hell's going on because we see it. We're talking about players that have played very attractive football for years now. All of a sudden, just standing on the pitch and walking around and looking at one another, there is no movement off the ball. That's what's scary, and that comes down to coaching, guys. That's all about coaching.
Yeah,
he's got no system.
Steve, what are your thoughts on this? I mean, there's clearly a missing kind of defined roles in this team, and I think that there's a lot still missing. And as Chris has mentioned, guys with particular roles are perhaps either not being given the right direction or not interpreting Vitoria's directions correctly.
That's the thing where we're not sure if it's them not interpreting them or that his directions are just poor. I mean, when you want to talk about roles, there's an area of the pitch that right now I'm thinking is really desperate for some definition in the difference between the two central midfielders. You need something, basically a blueprint saying, okay, Samaris, when Andre is here, you got to tuck in behind immediately. It can't be a delayed reaction. It can't be labored. Everything's got to be a little bit more fine-tuned. And I don't know if that needs to come from Rui Vitoria telling them they're not playing in the same line or in the same band. That Almeida is a little bit higher than Samaris all the time, and Samaris has to make sure to kind of be ready to attack the ball if it comes loose or pinch back and just let the play develop a little bit ahead of him to see what comes of it. But there is just a real confusion, I think, in the way those two guys are divvying up their duties and divvying up the pitch. I just think that it's leading to a lot of problems. If you look at the first and the third goal, versus Sporting, I know we're getting a little bit ahead of us, but you can definitely see where this comes into play. You see the ball is lost in midfield, and both of our defensive midfielders are flat, side by side next to each other, and one ball kills them both.
Yeah.
Gone.
Yeah. And Chris, what do you think? Do you think this has a lot to do with maybe the personnel that's being played in the midfield? Or do you think that there's still a lot of routines that are lacking in order for the midfield to function correctly?
Obviously, it has to do with it because you place two guys side by side that are very, that have very similar characteristics that play the same style of game. They're not really don't offer you much going forward with the ball, and you know what you're kind of going to get defensively. But to me, every single time I played on any team, with any that the coach played with two center mids, there was always a defined role for each guy in the middle. Like, when you're going forward, this is what you do. The other guy try, and vice versa. I don't think both of these guys knows which guy should go up, which guy should track back. Because every time if he gets caught on a counter, it's a goal. That's it. Because these guys, it just seems that they're both. I don't want to call them clueless, but they don't know, where to go, what to do, how to go about it. And it just seems to me that comes from coaching, man. JJ has always had his thing. The center mid always sat back and he covered the centrais, and the centrais will cover the alas. And I don't see any of that. I just don't see any of that. Every time Benfica, is defending, it always seems that, they're always defending against the odd man. It seems like, they're always one man short. It just seems like the guys are just all out of sorts. And I think, to me, man, I'm trying to to think of a positive thing to say, but yo, it's hard. It really is hard because I haven't seen many positives, and I know some of you, will criticize this, but guys, I didn't start this week. I didn't start bitching and complaining about this coaching staff. I did it, in the summer when we traveled with the team. If you guys recall, I was not convinced from day one. Yeah, he's a very nice guy, but that don't mean crap to me, man. There's plenty of nice guys that aren't successful at whatever it is that they do. It seems like he's very lackadaisical. He wants to be the nice guy. Maybe, he has to go through the growing pains, but right now, it's not just the fact that he doesn't seem to motivate this team. It's the fact that he doesn't seem to have a game plan. This team is still looking for solutions. Like, what is his system? Steve is a guy that sits there and watches a game, and I'll compliment him here, watches a game for 10, 15 minutes, and Steve could pretty much tell you right away, oh, they're playing, Steve gives you his thoughts, and it's this kind of system. What is his system? Steve can't even sit there and tell you what he does half the time because you don't know what it is from game to game.
Yeah. Cristiano, do you think that...
Wait. Before we go to Cristiano, man, what are your thoughts? Because everybody knows that I was pretty much going to come here and be critical, that Steve was going to kind of play it both ways. I'm actually surprised he's being a little more critical than I anticipated. But what about you, Capitan? What are your thoughts? Because the people come to the Benfica podcast, okay, to listen to the Capitan. When the Capitan talks, it soothes people's worries. So what do you think?
Well, I think that, and I kind of wanted to get into this while we talk about the Sporting game, but this is something that, in general, both games, I think they overlap each other. And we have concerns regarding what was done in the two games. I think that perhaps maybe JJ is too big of a monkey that Rui Vitoria has on his back, and he hasn't been able to shake that. And I don't know how he's going to be able to get rid of JJ's monkey on his back, to be honest with you. I think that the team is still looking for an identity. I think there's been a slight improvement from what we saw in preseason, but I think that there's still a long way to go, and it's very easy to find this team out currently, as Galatasaray did. I don't know how much film Galatasaray watched on Benfica or how many observers they had that studied the lose and so on and so forth watching Benfica, but Galatasaray knew exactly what they needed to do and for at least 60 minutes to get to Benfica, and they did that, and they got to Benfica. After 60 minutes, they were out of gas, and Benfica just didn't have the firepower to get back in the game. That's what I think.
Well, here's the thing. I'm glad you brought up the Rui Vitoria is going to have a really hard time shaking the JJ Monkey off his back, because anytime a successful manager in any sport, I don't care about the sport, anytime a successful legendary manager at a club, right? And I know JJ's not legendary, but like I've said it many times, had he stayed on 4 more years and won 2 more titles, I believe there would have been a statue, because he would have been the most successful coach in the club's history. So anytime you replace a guy that's very successful at the top of your club with a relative unknown, which Rui Vitoria really is, a guy that doesn't have this experience, they always go through these growing pains, and 9 out of 10, they flame out. And 10 out of 10, in most cases, it's always the guy that replaces the guy that replaced the main guy that turns things around and is able to be successful. And so I'm glad you mentioned that. But it's just like, the dude, man, like, I don't know. I got to stop, because I'm just going to, rip this guy into shreds. And
are you going to put him this small?
Yeah. But listen, he keeps playing these mind games with JJ. And whether you think JJ is a great coach on the field or not, the one thing is off the field, the guy, he's hysterical. He says that he gets under people's skins, and every single fight he's picked, he's won. You know what I mean? I think he already busted his ass with the Taça, Supertaça, Portugal, whatever, back in August. He already gave him a lesson. I think if I was Rui Vitoria, I kind of would have just gone about my business, and I'm going to talk about my team, and instead of coming up with the 11 versus 1, he's not going to win these games. And that's what worries me, man. You got your ass whooped one time. You didn't learn. You still went back for more.
The 11 versus 1 or 1 versus 11 was the way he worded it. In his press conference, he tried to clear things up and say that's like an internal model where it's something they say very often, that them as one unit could beat a team of 11 any day, blah, blah, blah. But he shouldn't have been naive enough, especially a guy like him who speaks so well in the press conferences to not be prepared or not expect that it was going to be twisted to something else. Or if he actually did mean it, then it was stupid, beyond naive. It was stupid.
You hit the nail right on the head. You hit the nail. It's an internal thing. You say that to your team. You motivate them. We're a team. We're going to go 1 versus 11 individuals. That's what you tell your team in the locker room. That's not what you go to the press with, because, I mean, if you say the sky is blue, JJ is going to find a way to turn that into some negativity and motivate his team with it. I think he should have kept that, like you said, internally and got out. Oh, Sporting. Hey, look, Sporting is a good team with good individual players, but I'm not here to comment about them. I'm here to comment about my team. I'm here to do a job and get my team ready to play this game. Oh, Mr. Sporting, Sporting is a good team, but once again, I'm worried about getting my guys ready. That's what you do. That's what you do. Yeah, great, you don't add to the fire, because you should know by now. Like I've mentioned, you tell the world that the sky is blue. JJ will turn that into a negative or a positive, and he will flip it, and he will motivate the heck out of his team with it. You're ready.
I'm with you, Chris. I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that. Okay, yeah. So we could continue this conversation. Let's turn our attention to the derby. I'll give you the lineup was basically the same lineup that we saw in Istanbul. And there was some doubts on whether Almeida was going to go to the right, and the right defense and Feza was going to come to the midfield. And Steve, right away we said that it's going to change too much. Let Silvio play, regardless of his lack of rhythm. Let Silvio play. And again, look, when it all comes down, without breaking down every single thing about the game, when it all comes down, Rui Vitoria was just out-coached by JJ once again.
Completely. JJ only let Benfica play what he wanted us to play. If you watch the game, you can just see the difference in the two sides and the way they position themselves with and without the ball. I mean, JJ's. I hate to big up this guy because I've never liked the guy, but he's a fantastic coach. The guy got this team completely on board with the way he likes to defend in 3 months. I mean, it's only going to get better, but if you look at the way they control space, both width and depth, like profundidade, like they like to say in Portuguese, I can't think of the proper word in English, but the way they control that with pressing the ball carrier, pulling up the defensive line, putting the defensive line very, very narrow, so all that you're giving the opposition is the flanks. They do that so well, it's out of this world.
Yeah.
And then he's got Slimani, who's a big boy, but he presses like an animal.
It moves around too.
And we have Mitroglou who won't do it, and we have Jimenez who doesn't do it, and you got to try to look at it.
Yeah.
It's a little bit unfair. I will be the first one to say it's unfair to completely judge Rui Vitoria versus Jorge Jesus. I mean, the curriculum is night and day. You can't compare them.
Well, for one, JJ has a huge advantage. I mean, if there's anybody that knows this Benfica club, it's him.
Yeah.
Yes, but
I'm not giving the other guy any passes anyway. But go ahead.
You cut me right off, and I don't remember where I was trying to go. With Rui Vitoria, though, you can't expect overnight that he's going to be able to turn this all around, and especially with this whole JJ thing and all the comments in the press and stuff. It's a very difficult situation for him. I want to see something, some form of positivity, please.
I want to see fire. I want this guy to get pissed off one time. Can I get
You're not gonna see, and if the moment
it's unfortunate.
the moment you see that, Chris, you know he's lost it, man.
Well, this is unfortunate, man. This is Benfica. He's too passive. He's way too passive. Yeah. We lost the game. It's okay. At the end of the year, no, it ain't okay.
Yeah, Chris. Let me ask you this, Chris. All the stuff running up to the game, Badashat Carvalho, all the stuff that was said in the press. Do you think that all the things that were outside the game. Do you think that this Benfica team, especially the guys that went on the field on Sunday, do you think that they were over anxious to perhaps stick it to Sporting because Sporting had been sticking it to Benfica all week? They wanted to respond on the field?
No, I don't think the players pay attention to any of that crap. I think the players go home to their beautiful model type wives and, do the cheeky and hang out all day and, whatever. I don't think they give a crap about what the president thinks. I think that has to do more so with our president and our coaching staff. And so far, I'm not even sure that half of this wasn't even told by, what was advised or requested by JJ to do. Because obviously, when he messed around with all the comments before the Jogo da Taça, it destabilized Benfica, it now seems like it did it again. It's like they're taunting. They're taunting Benfica. And so, yeah, I think it affects the coaching staff. I think it affected the president. As far as the players, I don't think so, man. I think the players go out there and they try to perform to the best of their ability. They're going to do whatever roles that the coaching staff asks them to do. Yeah, obviously, anytime you play a rival, you're going to want to win. It's an important game for you. But I don't think it affects the players. I think it's more off the lines than anything else.
Yeah. But there's a clear intention by Benfica, and especially what their MO has been throughout all these statements that Badocha de Carvalho has done, that Benfica has kind of stayed quiet and wanted to give the answer on the field, wanted to give a reply on the field, and we were just powerless to do that.
Well, here's the thing. When you're stay that quiet, bro, it leads me to believe two things. One, you're either really guilty and you really can't defend yourself, or two, you really don't give a shit and you're just moving on. So, I don't know. You decide.
It's one of the two. It's one of the two. But Steve, getting back to the game, I don't think that that Benfica played that bad in the first half. I think that Sporting was extremely efficient. I think that Sporting capitalized on our poor areas. I thought that their pressing and then taking advantage of the pressing to spring guys forward and to get the goals, I think that's where the difference was in the first half. Because I don't think that Benfica played that bad. I don't think that we created enough chances. Well, we created some chances in the first half, but Sporting was extremely efficient in the first half. Steve is muted.
Is he?
There you go.
No, he's still muted.
Am I back now?
Yeah, now you're back.
Sorry about that, guys. I don't. The key is that Sporting was super efficient, but to say that we played well, I don't know, man. Like I said before,
I don't think we played that well. I don't think we played that bad to deserve to be 3 down at the half.
Okay, the scoreline flattered them because they were so efficient, but we didn't do anything to show that we deserved a goal or that we deserved anything out of this match either. I mean, if they were less efficient, it only would have been 1-0 instead of 3. But they were in complete control of the match at all times. No matter how much we had of the ball, no matter how much we tried to cross the ball back and forth and get Gaetan 1v1 versus whoever it would be, if it was Jefferson or if it was João Pereira, it didn't matter. They had all of the few attacks that we could come up with, they had them in their back pocket. They had their defensive line and their midfield line so tight together that the areas that Jonas likes to play in, there wasn't such an area because they were too close. It looked like Jonas was playing right next to Jimenez all the time. He never saw the ball. I mean, Benfica only played what Sporting let them play. And honestly, to an extent, I almost believe that they wanted us to have the ball in the ugly areas because they knew they'd be able to pick us off. We have no support for the ball carrier, so as soon as you press us, it's easy to win the ball back. If Samaris doesn't come up with something to beat the man 1v1, if Gaetan doesn't, it's inevitable we're going to lose the ball. So
they caught us on the counter.
Yeah.
I mean,
it was clear. It was clear. If you're watching a game and you kind of take a step back and you take the big picture in, Sporting is playing was 2 very close banks of 4 between their defense and their midfield. One Benfica had possession, which basically what that does is that limits the spaces in what Jonas can play in, and then what they can do is they put men in the area where Gaetan can play, where Gaetan can be effective, and the only way we could get Gaetan the ball was with a cross-field pass. And by then, when Gaetan got the ball, we didn't have anybody over there to support him.
And that's another flaw in our system. I mean, why are we limiting to our most talented player to a flank where he has his butt against the touchline, so he's limited in that direction. He's got a defender in front of him and nobody supporting him of his own team. He's got no choice but to go 1v1 and try to do something special every time. There's got to be routines, like I said earlier in the year. There's got to be routines to get Gaetan off the left, more involved, more options to play the ball off of. It's just that's the first thing that has to happen for me.
But Steve, see, I don't mind those matchups of Gaetan 1-on-1 because I'll take Gaetan 9 times out of 10.
Why? So he can go and cross the ball.
No, but that's fine.
He'll go cross the ball like the English like to do, and put another 50-50 ball into the box and hope.
But that, with the exception of the goals from Jonas outside the box, the Mitroglu's and the Jimenez, it's those crosses get into the 6 that they're scoring these goals, Steve. So I don't really have the problem. My problem is the fact that they can't get anybody else to come off of Gaetan and to come off of Jonas because they know whoever's got the ball, it's not like they're going to create anything. They're just going to pass you sideways or backwards. So that's the problem because if Benfica could create the one-on-one matchups for Jonas and Gaetan out on the wing, Benfica's going to be successful more often than not. It's the other guys in the middle that can't do nothing with the ball, and they knew that. So they just sat back and said, on the line, come on.
They need to do that collectively, though, Chris. There needs to be routines that gets them.
I agree. No, Steve, I'm not disagreeing.
You can't expect Almeida to be able to do the things that even Pizzi could do with a ball. So you just can't.
Steve, I'm not disagreeing. I guess I'm kind of agreeing with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the exception is that I do want those one-on-one matchups because if we're getting those one-on-one matchups, that means we're being successful on other parts of the pitch, on other parts of the field, which we're not at the moment.
I think that this Benfica team is very easy to defend against, especially when you eliminate the threats of Gaetan and Jonas. Because, like you guys said, neither Samaris nor Andre Almeida are guys that can create. Even if you throw Pizzi in there, Pizzi's not a guy that could take one guy on and create something with a pass.
Neither could Guedes, neither could Mitroglou, neither could Jimenez, neither could Eliseu, neither Silvio. Yeah,
and Nelson was doing it.
Nelson was doing it a little bit. So, I mean, it takes a couch potato to realize, okay, Benfica, shut down Jonas, shut down Gaetan. Yeah, we got this in the books. And that's basically what it is. That's basically what it comes down to. But now here's the question. I want to shift it a little bit real quick. I want to ask you guys, and I think I'm going to get a lot of criticism for this. But because I've been in love with this guy ever since day one. We got this guy. But, I mean, any of you guys a little bit disappointed by Julio Cesar this weekend at all?
He can't come up big every single game, dude.
Yeah.
He's got to have an off game. The defense didn't help him either.
I understand, but I'm asking a question because I have thoughts.
I think that he.
What goal are you looking at?
I think that he was unlucky in the first game. The first goal, he was unlucky because it's kind of like a rebound that comes off his hands. Mm-hmm. I think that the second goal, he gets beat on the wet grass. And the third goal, he couldn't really do anything. He saved the ball, and the defense couldn't really catch up with the rebound.
See, I guess I can nitpick at all three. See, the first goal, you're right, it was tough, but I thought if you would have held on to the ball in the first place, it wouldn't have rebounded off his. You know what I'm trying to say? I thought he could have. Listen, I know it's a 50-50 play, but I think he could have been. I think he could have been better than that. So that one, I kind of like, I'm not gonna kill him for it. The second goal, a header from top of the 18. I mean, guys,
that's a tough one.
I mean, guys. It's a header. We're not talking about. I know it was a hard header, but again, you could question that, in my opinion. And then in the third goal, he made a good save, but he saved the ball into the middle of the box.
It wasn't really. It was a little bit to the side. I just think that Silvio didn't pick up the. Ruiz.
Yeah, Silvio showed up late, but I don't think Silvio expected that, to be honest.
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying you could all three goals, and I love JC. But there's question marks you could obviously ask. There's definitely a couple of things you could have said you wish would have gone a little bit different.
Yeah.
And I love the guy. I love the guy.
Absolutely. And Steve, here's the one thing that I also wanted to bring up with you is at the half we're down 3-0. and he actually takes perhaps our most offensive fullback, which is Eliseu, regardless of whether he's playing bad or not, but he's the one guy that can get into the other half, and he puts on our most defensive midfielder. I mean, are we playing for a win, or are we trying to hold the result?
I honestly think he was worried about getting 5 or 6-0. I can't think of anything else. I mean, if you're looking at it as an attacking move and trying to get back into the game, you put on Pizzi. At least in principle, you have a player who can do a little bit more with the ball. You get rid of Eliseu, who's having a bad match. You swap the fullbacks around. Yeah. That's the attacking positive move. You put on Fesa, and you're like, okay, let's. What he said it himself. He wanted to bring some solidity to the midfield and be able to cover up more ground. I was like, really?
Limit the damage.
That's what it is. He was limiting damages at that point, which, if you look at it realistically, from what we saw in the first half, we're never going to score 3 goals in the second half. So it is what it is. Like, you got to try to look at it both ways. The only thing is, it looks really bad on you if you don't have that belief, especially at a club that against their rivals at the size of Benfica is not going to handle something like that.
And here's the thing. I know it's easy to sit here and pinpoint, point the finger at Eliseu, and he did not have a good first half. I agree, but go back and look at all 3 goals. None of them were his fault. None of them.
No, the first goal, he should have been in line with Luizão, and he would have pulled that guy offside.
I don't do. Come on, they stole the ball. That was a quick turnaround.
It is a quick turnaround, but if Luizão's the master, you follow him, and you're supposed to be in line with him.
That was a quick snatch from Andre Almeida. Turn around and pack. Come on, Steve.
Yeah, I don't.
Come on, Steve.
It is what it is. It is what it is.
Steve,
the broken line.
It's not if Almeida doesn't lose the ball right there like he did, like a knucklehead, right? You can't expect that, Steve. That's all on Almeida. That has nothing to do with Eliseu. I'm sorry.
Eliseu is coming. Eliseu is coming up the pitch. You know that those guys
He's
don't
always
go
switched off.
But
that's
but
my
those
problem,
guys don't. Both Eliseu and Semedo or Silvio, those guys don't move up on the same line as Jardel and Luizão move. They move much higher because they want to be part of the play as the play is transitioning into the other team's half.
Think about it. Benfica's going forward. All of a sudden, the ball snatched, and before you know it, they're going the other way. I can't put that on. And I'm not defending them because I call him Popsicle and what. It got nothing to do with that. I'm just calling a spade a spade. The second goal, I don't think it was his fault. And the third goal had nothing to do with him. Neither goal.
Yeah.
And again, the third goal was another. The third goal was another one. Snatch in the midfield, counter. It's a wrap again.
Yeah, I can't blame that on Eliseu. I mean, the Galatasaray game is a different story, but I don't think I could 45. Maybe if he had stayed on longer, maybe I could have a little bit to criticize him.
Yeah, no, he wasn't great going forward, and there was a couple times he touched the ball, too long of a touch. Yeah, he was. Yeah, the guy did not have a good game, but I'm just making it very clear, he didn't have a good game. But I don't want to hear that you blame the goal. No, they're not. The goals had nothing to do with them.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, so a couple more things before we take a small break here. Chris, what kind of mental scars do you think a game like this and a loss like this in their own stadium can leave in this team?
Opa, if they went up and they were playing Porto and Braga in back-to-back games now, yeah, it could be. But the fact of the matter is they play Tondela next. They should beat these guys 3-0, and those mental scars will go away. It'll only come back when they play these guys again, go into Alvalade, and all the chit-chatter off the field will start up once again.
Yeah. Do you think that, Steve, both the Super Cup and this match now will serve as perhaps a condition for Benfica in the next... Well, they got to play Sporting in the Portuguese Cup, and that comes up at the end of November, if I'm not mistaken. And also, then they got to play Sporting again at Estádio José Alvalade. How do you think these 2 games will affect those other 2 games that they've yet to play?
There's definitely a condition there. I mean, it's a group of players that know Jorge Jesus really well. It's a group of players that have gone up against him twice and have been outcoached and outplayed twice. It's definitely going to condition them. The whole thing is whether you... It depends how you go forward from this. I mean, Rui Vitoria was asked a similar question in the press conference. Now what, basically, is what the question was. How do you move forward from this? And he says the way forward is being confident in your abilities and knowing that you've done good things and that you can only get better. So I don't agree with everything that he said, but that for me definitely has to be the way forward. You got to be able to be confident in what you can do and
the right
go forward.
message.
Oh yeah, it'll get better against the Beta Mares and the Académicas and the Tondelas, absolutely. But listen, like I just said a minute ago, I don't think it'll score him much. But when it gets back to playing Sporting once again, you could trust that those scars will be there. These guys will know. Once again, they're going up against their master, a guy who, say what you want about the guy, he is an absolute master at derbies. The guy does not lose derbies.
Yeah, that's an impressive number, and then he had to go rub it in at the end, but it's an impressive number.
He played stupid. He played stupid. Like, really? 06. Oh, it's the greatest. It's the worst defeat ever at starting to lose. I didn't know. Like, you didn't know. Come on, of course.
Yeah,
and so I think he's going to play all the right mind games. And the players, when it comes to playing Sporting again, all those questions will be there again. And you know what? It sucks to say, but JJ will have the upper hand because the guy, like I mentioned, he's tremendous in these derbies. Absolutely tremendous.
I think that right now, if you're going to play this game in 2 weeks, you got to give the advantage to Sporting just based on the JJ factor alone.
I think the advantage is in their end for now until the end of the season or until we start playing really well, if that happens, because based on what we've seen, JJ kind of has our number, and you know what? We just keep on bringing him up and over again, and it's so frustrating. But the guy he's the king of Portugal right now. Really, if you look at it, the guy can do no wrong at this point.
A lot of you guys laughed at me when I said in Portugal this year, starting this year, if I could have a coach and I got Mourinho or him, I'd take him. And people laugh because the guy knows how to navigate the Portuguese league today better than anyone else. The guy is just, listen, the guy's a hell of a coach. He's an asshole. He's arrogant, and sometimes you want to slap him. Even when he coached our team, wanted to slap him. But you can't deny that he's gotten better. And yes, you could come back at us and throw the fact that, you know, he slipped up with the games against Chelsea and against Guimarães and whatever else it was in the Campeonato Porto. Yeah, he slipped up, but you know what? The dude got better, and he came back with weaker teams and won the Campeonatos. It seems like he learned from his mistakes, and that's the only thing I could hope here, that Rui Vitoria kind of takes the same path. But let's be realistic. It's one road victory, I believe, right? I don't think they've won another game besides the Atletico Madrid game on the road, correct, guys?
No. Yeah, I think you're right.
Or am I wrong? I mean, it just, the numbers do not favor him. Nothing has been impressive. And the thing that saddens me the most, man, is when I'm talking about a club like Sport Lisboa Benfica, right, that the best compliment that you could pay a coach of a Sport Lisboa Benfica is that he's a classy individual. That's the best you can come up with. I mean, if that's what you're talking about, man, you know that this guy's just not cut out for it, man. And then he comes into the post-game press conference and, you know, acting like nothing happened. That rubbed me the wrong way, man. This is Benfica. This is not Guimarães where you were at. And, okay, you played a hard-fought game against one dos três grandes, and, you know, you come back next week and you flip the record and, you know, start it back up. And, no. It's not okay. Benfica has the obligation of winning every game, even against Porto and Sporting. That's who Benfica are in Portugal. He needs to understand that the fans will not be, you know, content with anything else. And then the other thing, and a lot of people went nuts on Twitter, and the Benfica TV people went nuts about it. It seems like they were told to do it because obviously distract the attention from the embarrassment we just saw on the field, which was to, you know, talk about the great support from the fans. Yes, it was great and it was spectacular, but that's not what I want to hear about after I lost. To me, it was divert the attention. It was embarrassing. Oh, the first thing I want to talk about, the fan. What, you try to kiss their asses because you don't want them to turn on you because you've done nothing great so far? You played 2 derbies and lost them. You played, you know, your arch rival, a Clásico, and you lost it. So, yeah, let's turn around. Let's talk about the great fan support. Yeah. Really? Right. Do you really need to tell me that the Benfica fans are great? I don't need you to tell. I know that.
Yeah, but I think it's a clear intention for him to still acknowledge that the fans are still with him at this point, and he's acknowledging that, and he's thanking them for that, and he's asking them indirectly stay with us. This is going to get better. I think that was his clear intention when he mentioned the support.
Bro, the fans will support Neil if Neil was our coach right now. The fans will support anyone that's the Benfica coach.
No, Chris, you can't. There's a lot of people already saying Rui Vitoria out. I read some things on Twitter, whether they're jokingly said or whatnot, that Stoke City are actually helping Benfica. Maybe we can get our hands on Mourinho. There's a lot of banter, or with maybe banter with some truth behind it about Rui Vitoria's exit. So there is no unconditional love for any Benfica coach. How's that?
Yeah, let's take a short break here, and we'll be back. We'll answer some Twitter questions. If you want to tweet at us at Benfica. Hashtag Benfica Podcast, so we could see your questions or we can answer them. So we're going to take a short break here for Nelson's halftime headlines. If you're watching this live, you won't hear it, obviously, but this will be in the audio version. All right, we're back for the second half, and we'll get right into the questions here on Twitter. At Paulo Simon 55. Do you feel that Jimenez and Mitroglou can score enough goals to carry the side this season?
Nope.
Carry him to where?
I don't think. Well, I'm guessing. I'm guessing that they're going to score enough goals to carry them to a championship or to being successful. I don't think that the current situation will allow them to score enough goals for us to be successful. I think if anyone's going to score goals, it's the guys who could pull magic out of hats, and it's going to be guys like Jonas and Gaetan that will keep scoring wonderful goals. I don't think
creating goals for them.
Maybe, but they're not going to be. It's not going to be a 20-goal season for either of them unless something drastic changes.
Yeah, they're no Lima, that's for sure.
I'll put it nice and simple. Steve, you just help me out. If they both put 20 goals in the Campeonato, Benfica, they'll carry them to them, but I doubt that'll happen.
That's it.
Here's your next one, Meg at Lovers Out of Time. If you want to follow her, she says, "I feel as if it's Luizon's time to go. His age is starting to show."
I think the lack of pressing. I think the lack of a good system is showing Luizon's age. I think there's still, especially in the Portuguese league, there's way too much. Just tactical knowledge, just way too much experience. There's just too much of Luizão left, at least for one more year. From what I could see, I don't think it's his time yet. I think there's other variables that are making him look as bad as he has been. And even then, I don't think he's been our worst defender. I think Jardel had a worse game than him on the weekend. I will get shot for that.
I think Luizão had a much worse game than Luizão. Than Jardel.
No, I don't think so.
I thought Jardel had a better game than Luizão almost scored, bro.
Other than that was awful.
Well, Luizão
loose on Slimani on a second goal.
Yes, he was loose on Slimani, but that was a really weird play because how often do you get a perfect cross at the top of the box that goes to a header and goes in? It's a very, very weird play, but I'll give fault to Luizão on that one.
I'll be the rude one here. I think Luizão been a legendary captain for this club, a guy that will forever be in our record books. That being said, I think if you're a club like Benfica and you aspire to compete on all fronts, I think Luizão will not be or should not be a starter for Benfica next year. Yeah, he's had some decent games this year, but too many times have I seen him just ball watching, and it like I've never seen this from Luizão. And like in particular, that goal when Suleimani, he's just like looking around, like I've just never seen that from Luizão. So unfortunately, thank him for what he's done for the last 13 years. But yeah, if Benfica want to compete, they're gonna have to replace him, and even Jardel probably. Jardel had a fantastic year. I even went this crazy and said that he had a better year than Garay did the year before, but. Yeah. Just not had the same form. I don't know if it has to do with the fact that obviously Eliseu dropped his form. Moxie's not there. One thing that Moxie could do is defend. He's not there. And then the biggest thing is, guys, Steve hit it on the head. The center mids, they have no game plan. They don't know what to do defending. And obviously they haven't covered for these guys as much as they've done in years past.
Yeah, my biggest thing with Luizão, and I think one of the biggest qualities that he has is his leadership, but I think that somebody's quickly emerging as the leader of this team.
Absolutely.
right next to Luizão. Also, another one from Meg. She thinks that things would be different if Rui Vitoria had a fully healthy and equipped squad. Do you guys feel that we would have been doing better if we had a healthy Salvio?
Oh, there's no doubt about it. I mean, how could you compare a 19-year-old kid who's just learning the ropes, who's actually you got to call a spade a spade. He's been decent. He has been either side of great or horrible. He's been straight down the middle. But Salvio is the type of player that 1v1 is almost unbeatable, which at this point it seems the only type of football we could play. So, yeah, it would be huge. What do you ask me if Salvio's around, do we win yesterday's game or the weekend's game? Absolutely not. I think there's just way too many flaws just to put it down to personnel.
Here's the question. Here's the question. Without a doubt, Benfica will be better, but here's the question. So just because you insert Salvio into the lineup, all of a sudden there's going to get a game system, a game plan from the coach?
That's exactly what I just said.
No, I know, Steve, I know, but you said it in your polite manner and all the.
Well, but I think that
I say it the brutal way. You know what I mean?
Well, I think when Meg says that, she also mentions the lack of a proper 8 in the squad, which would probably help the system a lot better.
We didn't have one last year.
Yeah. Here's one, and this one's for you, Chris. This one is for the football eagle. Should Cristante or João Teixeira be given a chance to play at 6? Or we could also say with 8 with Feza and André Almeida playing bad?
Why not? Look at it this way. We found a gem and Nelson Smith because we kind of had nobody else, and the one guys we had, they were estaban rotos. So we found the gem. Same thing. Benfica kept throwing John in there, then Andrade all of a sudden, okay, you guys stepped up, struck out. Let's give Guedes a chance. So, I mean, at this point, what else do they have to lose? I mean, are these guys that much worse than Feza? Look, I love Feza because I think the guy is a good luck charm, but the guy cannot stay healthy, too. I'm tired. I can't count on a guy that I can't, count on for more than 20 minutes a game. I just can't. So why not? João Teixeira was a guy that showed a lot of promise last year. Then all of a sudden went to the bench, hasn't even been called up. This kid Renato Sanchez, or whatever his name is, on the B team. I don't know if he's a winger, a midfielder, a goalie. I don't know who he is, but I know that the guy's putting up great numbers. Give this guy a chance. And Cristante, I heard my man's been, getting down and dirty. But
that's a rumor.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that, bro. You know what I mean? Give the guy a chance. Give the guy a chance.
For those of you that don't know, and Hugo Chapado also brought this up, there's a rumor that Cristante was screwing around with one of the upper guys from the SAD. He was screwing around with his daughter. But I don't understand how that would get you no playing time or ostracized from the team.
Opa, imagina que é filho do Luís Filipe Vieira.
I think that people are clutching at straws because there's never been a real answer to why Cristante wasn't given a fair go. I mean, we mentioned it really early here in the season where we saw him warming up by himself doing keep-ups in halftime instead of being with either the guys warming up or with the guys in the locker room. Something was up. So we've said it a couple times. There's something more to this story that we don't know.
And now that this rumor came out,
it makes sense. We
finally got the answer. My man, he was brokenhearted. He was just thinking about the guys by himself. He didn't want to be around his friends. Coração partido, man. It leaves you lonely. Yeah, so that's the answer.
Yeah, here's one from Emma Sonho Deluge. We've made so many mistakes after the break. 3 games and 6 goals conceded. Is Semedo's absence the key reason for that? What do you guys think?
No. Competition.
The key, no. Competition. Is he being missed? Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But the competition.
Yeah.
Oh, Steve, I stayed quiet and you froze.
No, I was waiting for the next question because we actually agreed for once. I didn't have to.
Cristiano, here's one for you from Kevin, and congratulations to Kevin and his wife that just had a baby, which they named Nico. Congratulations to them. Will Taarabt play soon, and as an 8 in the meantime?
I think
you had to ask that question, Kevin. Here we go, Chris.
I think that's the news. Peraí. Calminha. I think that the noose is going to start getting tightened. Is going to, tighten some more around Vitoria's neck, and he's going to have no choice but to look at that beautiful stallion that he has just stuck there with a chain around his neck, and he's going to say, "Go, boy, you run, boy, you go get me." That way, and that's what he's going to do. He's going to have to unleash this guy on the Portuguese people over there, and the guy's going to be lights out. Vai partir aquilo tudo.
Here's one from Tommy Rodriguez. Would you take Mourinho at SLB?
Nope.
I mean, yeah. Listen, first of all, guys, let's get this Mourinho thing straight.
It's not going to happen. No.
He might as well get fired at Chelsea. And he's going to take home $41 million with himself and be happy as hell, not return to the EPL. But here's the thing, guys. Don't think, and I love Benfica, okay? You guys know I love Benfica. But he's not going to go to Portugal. At least for his very next job, he's still going to have a crack at a big job. There's rumors Paris Saint-Germain. There's rumors Inter Milan. He's still going to get a crack at a big job. Now, if he goes into one of those places and falter, yeah, then he'll probably come back to Portugal. And then, yes, I absolutely would take him at Benfica because the guy plays ugly soccer, yada, yada, yada. And I'll mention this 50,000 times. But as long as he puts up results, he's going to get a job.
Yeah.
So I would take him, I should say. I would take him at Benfica.
I don't know about that. I don't think that Mourinho will come back to Benfica.
No, I don't think so neither, but... I would take him if he had the opportunity. Rui Vitoria or Mourinho? I mean, come on, is there a question?
Yeah. Okay, Kevin, I think that we're all in agreement here. I think that Limo is a big loss for Benfica this year. Yeah. Steve, here's one from Kevin Melhor. Let's Talk Benfica at Let's Talk Benfica on Twitter. Basically, he mentions that he thinks that Luizão is too focused on fixing everybody else's errors that he ends up committing them himself.
Yeah, that's a very good shout. I mean, Luizão is basically the leader on the pitch. He's the coach's voice on the pitch. It's been that way since the time of Jesus, and it's gonna stay that way at least until the end of the season, I'll have to say. So yeah, that's a very good shout. I agree with you, Kevin.
Wait, here's the question. Who asked this? Kevin Melhor?
Yep.
Is that like a swipe at the other Kevin saying he's Melhor? Is that what it is?
That's a good one.
Oh, Twitter wars.
That's just his last name, Melhor. I'd love to have a name like that, Melhor, man.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
Yo, not for nothing, Fuma. I think your name's pretty cool, yo. Fumas.
Yeah, my name is pretty cool, yeah.
I knew you for 30 years, and I thought that was a nickname.
Here's one. João Gomes has also been active on Twitter. He reminds us that the League Cup drawing comes up tomorrow. Benfica, Porto, Sporting, and Braga are pot 1, so they won't play each other in the first round. I don't have the rest of the teams in front of me. João Gomes also says that the Benfica will hit the market in January and will bring in an 8.
Really? You gonna give him a loan?
He seems to think that with Salvio back and Semedo and that 8, that we will turn this around.
Yeah. Will it be too late though, guys? I mean, we're what, 5 points, 8 points realistically, 1 game in hand back, right? I mean, will it be too late by then? That's the question. I mean, and again, is Rui Vitoria all of a sudden going to turn out to be this magical coach? Because we sat here for the last hour and went over, and Steve and I mentioned time and time again that this team looks like it doesn't have an idea of what to do on the field. Is he all of a sudden going to pick up a book, Tactics for Dummies?
Well, it's just to be a positive spin, just to put a positive spin. The year we won the title, and after the whole Cardozo thing and how we look just as bad as we do right now, we still ended up winning the title, and we still turned it around. It looked like a switch after, I believe it was game versus Ninth. So who knows? But there is no signs to that right now.
Yeah, here's some food for thought. In the 2010-2011 season, I think that was JJ's second season.
Which was probably his worst.
We lost 4 games out of the first 5. We didn't win the championship, but that's the way that season went the second year. after winning the championship. We lost the Super Cup to Porto, and we proceeded to lose 3 games out of the next 4 for the league.
But what's that mean? I mean, at the end of the day, we didn't win the title, so who cares?
But he's trying to show you that JJ did have faults too, and JJ is now a fantastic manager.
But we've gone over JJ, and we said that JJ, once he got slapped around in those 3 finals, and that the guy grew and he got better.
Okay.
But this question wasn't directed towards JJ. This question was directed towards, once we get these players back, will we be able to finally get on the right line and compete?
Yep.
Yes, without a doubt, the team will be better. But the question will be...
Will it be too late?
Will it be? How far behind will we be? Because we're not playing in the EPL where the last could be first any day. Okay, guys? The thing is, even right now at 8 points, we need Sporting to lose 3 games and Benfica to lose none and drop no points to the very next of the year in order for Benfica to jump over them. I think that's a lot to ask, guys.
Yeah, we've been left with very little margin of error, if you ask me.
We don't have any.
Can it be done? Yeah, it can be done. I mean, who would have thought that Porto would have lost this many points already, especially with the coach that's been there since last year, with the squad that we think that's one of the better squads in the Portuguese league. And look, they've lost a lot of points already this early in the season. So who knows? We don't know what's ahead. We just hope that Benfica could get it together and they could start winning the games. Ugly or pretty, I don't care. Just win the freaking games. All right, let's turn our attention to Benfica's next game, which is Friday. Benfica will be playing Galatasaray a week from today, so they've moved up the Tondela game to this Friday. They're playing at the Municipal de Aveiro in Chris's hometown. 8:30. Well, Steve is halfway. 8:30.
So Chris.
8:30 p.m.
Half Stubalents too, if you want to go that way. But anyway.
8:30 local. Tondela is currently 16th place, 1 point above the relegation zone. They have 5 points out of 1 win, 2 ties, and 5 losses. They have scored 4 goals and have allowed 8 goals. In their ranks, Romário Balde, John Murillo, and Guzu, which are all owned by Benfica, so they won't be playing in this game. So, but I mean, Steve, if you wanted a game to bounce back from this Sporting game, this is the game.
Yeah, they just recently fired Vitor Pineda as well, if I remember correctly.
Do you know why?
I wouldn't be able to tell you why. You want to tell me?
This is inside sources. Can't deny nor confirm. But I was told by very good sources. O gajo só cria putas e vinho verde. That's exactly what I was told.
No, I don't believe that. I think that Pineda is a classy guy.
Oh, well, I believe my source.
Yeah. I think Pineda is a classy guy.
Anyway, yeah, it's the perfect game to bounce back. The more perfect would have been at home. I hate to give Lopetegui a little bit of an argument, but I'm pretty sure they played Tondela, if I remember right, on their own crappy little pitch, and we're getting to play them on this nicer pitch, or am I wrong?
Yeah,
no, say that again. Yes, yes, they played Sporting in Aveiro. They played Porto at home, and now they play Benfica in Aveiro once again, which Porto were pretty much bitching about.
And they have very good reason, if you ask me. Doesn't sound too fair, but yeah, we'll take it and play on the better pitch, and hopefully we'll get the result.
Hey, look at it this way: Benfica played in Municipal Aveiro this year against a small team just like that one, and came away with a loss.
Yeah. So
yeah,
we'll see.
So it's tricky, and look, I think if Benfica had won this game against Sporting, then this could have very well been a trap game. But now this becomes a game that Benfica must win.
Yeah, it's a must-win game to turn the tide and to instill some confidence, because that's definitely something we're lacking at the moment. So that combined with the other game that we're kind of previewing as well, the Galatasaray game, it's definitely got to be a turning point, because if it isn't, I mean, the loss was bad. The reaction to this loss is really what it is going to be the telling part of this season. I mean, whether we're champions or not, I think that coming back from these ugly results is going to show where this team lies.
Steve, but come on, man. Come on. Please, man. Let's not be blinded here, and let's not be, fanatic.
Okay,
here, man.
more so the Gala game than this one.
Exactly. Here's the thing, man. When Alfredo asked about the scars, right? I mentioned if we're playing Porto in Braga next, we're playing Tondela, for Christ. So if Benfica comes out with a 4-0, are we really going to be like, yeah, all right, yeah, we're back on track? I mean, come on, guys. We're Tondela, for Christ's sake. And by the way, the three Benfica kids, they're not even going to be able to play, correct?
No.
Okay, so it's even a weaker Tondela.
But it's a reflection on the spirit and the character and the personality of the team.
Yeah.
Opa, those guys get up at 5 o'clock in the morning after all night on this discoteca. They should be able to beat those guys.
But I think that not only the Tondela, but I think the Galatasaray game is a big tell on whether or not this team is going to bounce.
The Gala one is the big one. That's the big one.
That's going to be a huge game, and I think where the Tondela game matters here is if Benfica comes out with a negative, crappy 1-0 game. If he comes out and they put out a good performance, I think the fans, Aquil Seguinhos and the real diehard fans, they're going to show up to the game on Wednesday and support because it's going to be crucial to have a sold-out, or close to capacity, style to lose against the Galatasaray team in the champion. I think that's where this game matters.
Are you calling Alfredo and Pedri Seguinhos?
No, not those guys.
Just checking.
No. Alfredo's a couple down.
We plan. I'm planning on being at the Galatasaray game this coming Tuesday, a week from today. So hopefully everything will go well. We'll meet up with Pedri. And anybody else that's around, I'd love to meet everybody.
I mean, not for nothing. If I'm you, I stay as far away from Pedri as possible.
Yeah,
the guy goes to a game, they lose. I mean, Pedri, stay home, watch on TV.
So we'll see what happens. All right, let's wrap this up. I think that's about it. I don't know if you guys wanted to add anything else.
I just want to see if we can catch a question or two before, because there's like 3 or 4 on here that we haven't.
You got something?
Brandon Rock, do you guys know what's going on with Tarat, Cristante, and Jurisic? Guys, we haven't seen yet. We've spoken about this before. It was on the cover of Avola today.
Yeah, the cover of Avola. Yep.
It's a guy that we can't trust for anything, that likes to go out more than he likes to play football. Tarat, it's Cristante who has a story probably more to than what we know, which we mentioned earlier. And Jurisic, I mean, this is not the first coach that's put him to side and say, you know what, I can't count on you. I think it's not down to footballing ability, because these 3 guys, based on technique alone, will walk right into our side right now. Yeah. But football's more than just about technique.
Well, the only question mark there's Cristante. We haven't seen the guy playing so long. I'm not even sure he could walk in. But the other 2, I would like to think. I mean, for sure, Tarat for sure. But Jurisic, I like to think so.
But even Jesus just put Cristante aside and never really used him last year as well. So
that's what I just said. That's what I just said, Steve. He's the question mark. I'm not sure he can walk in.
Oh, okay. You're saying in terms of technique. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I think right now, and from what I've been reading, you probably have a better chance of seeing Renato Sanchez in the lineup than you have those 3 guys.
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
Bro, I think there's going to come a moment Vitoria is going to say, I have to get this guy in the field. And I think that the club,
I got to prove that Chris guy right. I mean, he gave me a hard time about him in North America. I got to prove him right. Why doesn't this guy play?
Yeah, it's
and here's the thing.
Ricardo Lemes is probably happy that you haven't been around, Chris.
Chris just disappeared on us, but Ricardo Lemes is the press officer who Chris had a couple of run-ins with over here on stateside, which was pretty funny.
Yeah, Chris kept on asking Rui Vitoria what Tarap doesn't play in the first 2 games of the preseason, and the second time around, the guy that was the press officer for Benfica, he just got into it with Chris, and he ended up cutting the press conference short because of Chris's question.
Oh, esquece these. They should have listened to me back in August, but obviously they didn't. You got to. But no, it's gonna come a time where this guy's gonna get on the field, man, and there's too much money being invested in this guy, not to get him on the field. To me, it hasn't made any sense. I know that he slipped up and he went out, yada yada yada. But from what you've heard, he's been fine and he's been forgiven by the coaching staff. And I think you have to let that go. If the guy is, obviously he's been convocado, he's been called up, he's made the list of 20. Obviously only 18 dressed, but he's made the list of 20. So he thinks that he's ready to play. He's lost his weight. What are you waiting on? I mean, put the guy out there. I mean, you gotta let it go at some point.
Waiting on a breathalyzer.
If he's got a poor attitude and if he is still a little bit overweight, he could stay as far away from this side as ever.
Steve, here we go with your negative self. Steve.
My negative self has been proven right for 3 months now.
Okay, here's the thing, man. There's people that are smart and there's people that have common sense, right? And I'm not smart, but I have common sense. Okay? If the guy has been called up, okay, to a game, it leads me to believe common sense that one, he is not fat and that his attitude's in the right place, because or else he wouldn't even make the list, Steve.
Really? So why isn't he part of the 18?
That's the question. But why call him up to the 20 then?
Tactical option, Steve.
Okay.
Steve,
that tactical option, I believe, is going to stick around for a long time.
Here we go with the tactical. So where I go again, where he's clueless then. Here I go again, knocking Rui Vitoria. If he's not ready, why are you calling him up?
He doesn't make the 18.
I agree with you.
What do you mean?
If he wasn't in shape, he wouldn't have been called up. That's why I agree.
Steve, why call him up?
I believe he's in shape to play. Do I think he's mentally ready to play? No. Do I think he's a professional?
So then why call him up? You're not answering my question.
Who are you going to bring up instead?
Who cares? You just brought up Renato Sanchez from the B team.
Okay.
Bring up Jurisic.
And that's what's going to start happening. Instead of Tarap, that's what's going to come. Renato Sanchez.
Steve, there are 114 players on the contract for Benfica. They could call up a shitload of guys to make those 2 extra spare guys at the end of the roster. Okay? The fact that he chooses this guy, it leads you to believe common sense
that he's close.
What then? If he's not ready, why call him?
Chris, I think that you have to save face at some point too, and that might be why he's getting called as part of the 20.
Stop with that, Steve. Steve, come
on. Has he played a minute in the season yet? I can't remember.
Okay, that's fine, Steve. That part I won't argue that. You're not answering my question, and don't give me that he has to save face. Why call? I don't care if it's Tarap. I don't care if it's André Almeida, Silvio. Even now, when Smith gets back, and Smith, let's say he's at 60%. He calls. So he brought him up for the atmosphere. Like, look, you've never been to Vila do Conde yet. Let's go to Vila do Conde.
I think he brought him to Porto just so he can eat francesinhas, man. That's what I think. But anyway,
that's what it is. Okay, okay. So then you know what? This guy is a buffoon. I don't want him at Benfica. I don't want him as my head coach at Benfica. This guy's a clown. If he's making decisions on francesinhas, he's a clown. I don't want him on my team. How's that?
Chris, hook, line, and sinker.
On that note, let's wrap this up. You've been listening to the Benfica podcast with Alfredo Fumaças, Cristiano Oliveira, and Steve Santos. Our Twitters are at Benfica Podcast. Is Benfica, obviously the Twitter feed for the podcast. At 10CO10 is where you can find Chris. Steve is at Steve Santos 6. And BenficaPodcast.com is where you can find our site and all our podcasts and all that good stuff. Our friends over at planetbenfica.co.uk also get in there, visit their forums, and participate. Our friend M. mods some of the forums there, so get in there and really join the true Benfica English-speaking community. I think that's about it.
And we love the Portuguese-speaking community as well. We don't want to.
Oh yeah, of course we do.
And the Spanish and the Russian and all the hot Swede girls and the German girl, whatever. Yeah, we love you all.
We don't discriminate.
Don't want to single anybody out.
Right.
We love you all.
So that's about it. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you for putting up with last week's technical difficulties. It was actually very funny when I listened back and I heard the way my voice was sounding. It was quite funny. But it nonetheless very annoying at the end not being able to come through to you guys. So thanks a lot to my internet for holding up this time, and thanks for you guys for coming and checking us out. People watching us live, also thank you very much, and we'll talk. I'm not sure yet. Again, what's going to happen next week? I'm hoping to be in Portugal next week, so I don't know if I could get a pod out to you guys. If anything, maybe Peggy and I will get something, and we'll put it up. All right, so that's about it. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that's bad business on your part.
Bad business.
We'll figure it out.
You know what? If you guys go just do a outside the Stade de Luge little video podcast off of a phone and send it over, that'd be pretty cool. Just an idea.
And send us pictures of Francesinha so Steve can see them.
That's only up north, dude.
Whatever, dude. I'm pretty sure they make Fugazi ones down in Lisbon.
Fugazi. On that note, arrivederci, everybody.
Yo, bring me back some castañas, yo.
See you, everybody.
Take it easy.